they opt to release you. If you wake up Wednesday morning and you're still at the jail, you should reach out to Mr. Franklin and he'll reach out to my team and we'll figure out why you're still there, okay?
Very good, Your Honor.
All right. Anything else, Mr. Franklin, on behalf of Mr. Askew?
No, sir.
All right, I'll mark in red that he needs to get out.
Mr. Franklin, you will follow up on this, make sure that everything went through?
Yeah, I can always check the computer and see if you're in or out. So if I see that you're still in after another day or so, I'll reach out to the prosecutor and the judge.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sir.
I may have jumped it by saying Wednesday morning. If you're still there on Thursday, you need to reach out. But it takes a little bit to process all this, but we will work it from our end, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Askew.
Thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Yep, you too.
Good morning, Judge. I'm coming into the courtroom.
Oh, all right. All right, I think Mr. Lee should be next. I'm going to start Mr. Florio on the call, and Mr. Franklin, we are live on.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Mr. Lee, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Great. Mr. Lee, you are on today for final plea. Ms. Paul, is this your matter? Ms. Convery is here, so
Ms. Convery.
Ms. Convery's case. Okay. Mr. Florio, final plea date is when we either make a record of what the state's offer is and the fact that your client is defining it. We're not on the record yet, so okay. Or we're going forward with a resolution. What do you think is happening today?
Yes, sir, Judge. Ms. Convery and I have talked about this case extensively since the beginning part of last year. I know she's been super busy lately with multiple cases, and we just received the plea offer yesterday afternoon, right before the close of business. That was Ms. Convery, though. She and I have been communicating a lot about the case, and I know that she's doing the best she can. I've not had a chance to convey that plea offer to Mr. Lee because I just received it yesterday about 4 o'clock. And so I think, and I don't think Ms. Convery would have an objection if Your Honor would allow me just a little bit more time to be able to go see Mr. Lee at the jail, convey the state's offer to him because he does not know what it is. And obviously continue to work on it. I think Ms. Convery and I would probably both agree that there's still a little bit more work that we need to do on the case to hopefully move it along.
Okay, I've got a few questions. One, there's a co-defendant. What's the status of the co-defendant's case, Ms. Convery?
So I believe the co-defendant is Ms. Johnson. She should be on the court's calendar in a week or so. Everything is complete as far as the file is concerned, but it'll be the same posture, just needs to go through a final plea. I anticipate a resolution on the co-defendant's case, but nothing has been finalized as far as the terms of any.
But it's moving in sync. It's not. We have to have a motion.
No, that's right.
It's on the cusp of a final plea as well.
That's right.
And who represents Ms. Johnson?
Mr. Infline, Matthew Infline.
Okay. All right. Back to Mr. Lee. So Mr. Lee certainly needs to hear from Mr. Florio what the offer is in a private setting so they can talk about the pros and cons. My thought is this: if Ms. Convery is willing to leave the offer open for some amount of time, she can let us know what that amount of time is. And then Mr. Florio, you can connect with your client. I don't think I'll put this back on the calendar just for final plea. It would next appear on a trial calendar. But well before then, if you, Mr. Florio, and Mr. Lee come to a point where you want to enter a negotiated plea, non-negotiated, whatever it is, your final plea rights will still be intact. And the primary right for Mr. Lee is if I were to sentence him for more time than you asked for, Mr. Florio, Mr. Lee would have the ability to withdraw that plea, no questions asked, and still go to trial. So we'll preserve the final plea rights, but I'm going to move it to a trial calendar. And that can mean one of two things. We are now doing jury trials, if this case is old enough, meaning Mr. Lee's been in jail long enough, and he has, we may try to get it on one of those in-person jury trial calendars. We're also publishing our own sort of as a placeholder, but I don't have the ability to call my own trial calendar right now to go through that consolidated approach because we can only have one jury a week. But I'm happy to get Mr. Lee's case in that line if it's not going to work out.
Yes,
so
sir.
That'll be the fallback. If we add Mr. Lee's case to one of these in-person jury trial calendars, just to keep it moving so it doesn't stall. But if between now and then, Mr. Lee wants to attempt a guilty plea, you just need to let Ms. Nelson know, and we'll pop the case on the next available calendar. You'll need to let Ms. Nelson know if you want that to be in person. In other words, have Mr. Lee brought over, or if he is okay doing it remotely, where he will zoom in from the jail. We can do it either way. You just need to know because it has to get on the correct calendar. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
sir. Absolutely. Yes, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Convery, how long are you willing to leave the offer open?
So the offer, and he's correct, by the way, I did just convey it last night, so I don't want the court to think that was through any delay of Mr. Florio. Well, no, I mean, it's me. It has not him at all. And he was following up with me last week, but I just presented a huge case to the grand jury. Anyway, I did not do a particular expiration on my offer that I conveyed last night, but I will. I was kind of hoping to see if this would go on to either a second final plea or an upcoming trial calendar, so I could just make it the date of the trial calendar. Because we may not know that date. What I'll do is give it a deadline that allows Mr. Florio enough time to talk to Mr. Lee. I probably will do.
I may be able
Okay.
to see what this one says about days in jail for.
He's been in jail a significant.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to tell. I only have 151, but that's from the date of the new indictment.
Right.
So, hey, Mr. Lee, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Ballpark, how long have you been sitting in jail?
15 months.
18?
15, sir.
Okay, so that would make it on. So why don't we plan to put this on the next available in-person calendar, publish the one for the 17th and the 24th. We do have one case on it, Mr. Carter. But then the next one, there's Memorial Day week, so it would be the week of June 7th and 14th.
Okay.
So we'll get it on that calendar.
Okay.
So Mr. Florio, you'll get notice of that, but I'll add this case to the June 7, June 14. Calendars are 2 weeks long, so we can try 2 of the cases that appear on them. But I'll add Mr. Lee's case to that trial calendar. And it sounds like Ms. Convery is willing to leave the offer open through June 7th. Not that long, less than that.
Well, so I will be on the calendar for the 7th.
This will be on the calendar for the 7th.
Okay, I will probably expire it that early week of June so that I can just make sure I'm ready for the 7th. But yeah,
You can let them know. But just,
I will.
You all should know this will be on the calendar, trial calendar for June 7, June 14. And Ms. Convery can reach out to you, Mr. Florio, as to what the deadline is. It makes sense that it would be before June 7th. So everyone has to certainty, are they getting ready to trial, or is the case resolved?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lee, do you have any questions about what we talked about? All we've done is talk scheduling, about the substance of the case. And Mr. Florio will be connecting with you real soon so you can understand, is the state offering you 1 year or 100 years or something? Do you have any questions other than what the offer is?
No, I understand.
Okay, so Mr. Florio, you'll be out to see Mr. Lee soon, and then if it's something we can sort out, let Ms. Nelson know so we can get everyone back together, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Judge.
All right, Mr. Florio, anything else on this case?
No, sir, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Lee, thank you. We'll be in touch soon.
Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court. May I be excused?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Convery, we can't put co-defendants on as being tried together.
Mhm.
So my plan, based on your representation, would be to put Mr. Lee on only because your sense is that Ms. Johnson will be sorting the case out. If she's not, and it is fundamental of the state's case that they tried to get with me to let this house know, because I need to pull Mr. Lee off. We're not quite ready yet to do two defendant cases.
Got it. Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment, and there actually may be some immunity or severance issues if they went forward.
And I've been talking with some defense attorneys about doing the same thing. My clients go, I bet the co-defendant is going to peel off. And I'm okay putting those on the trial calendar, just focus.
Right.
It'll have to come on if
The
in the
changes.
end, it's not, it's a joint trial.
Got it.
All right, great. Thank you. Position 3 is Mr. Shipman. Are you Mr. Shipman?
Yes, sir.
How you doing today?
I'm fine. How about you?
I'm okay. Is Mr. Patel handling this, or are you Mr. Franklin?
This is Attorney Harold Johnson. I'm representing Mr. Shipman.
Hey, Mr. Johnson, how are you?
Pretty good. Good morning, Your Honor. How are you doing?
I'm well, good to see you. My understanding, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Shipman, is that Mr. Shipman's on for a potential revocation hearing, but that the state has decided at this point it is not going to be moving forward with a revocation hearing, which they're entitled to do. And if that's the case, but Mr. Johnson was ready to go forward, then there's certain steps I need to take. But I want Ms. Hall to get on the record what she's going to do. I should let everyone know I have 2 different petitions or warrants for Mr. Shipman. One I signed in January of this year. The allegations that in December of last year, Mr. Shipman had a gun, basically what it says, as a convicted felon. But the more recent petition that was signed 2 months ago, March 3rd, it lists 2 different arrests. One is this possession of a firearm from December of last year, but then there's this year, February 25th, an aggravated assault allegation out of Atlanta. The gun from December was out of Bartow, so 2 different locations. Ms. Hall, you're aware of both allegations?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at this time, what is the state's announcement?
The state will not be moving forward on the revocation hearing, Your Honor. We're still gathering evidence from the shooting case that occurred in February.
Okay. Mr. Johnson, do you have any requests what I do with the warrants and petitions for your client based on the state's announcement?
Can those warrants be I don't know. Can the warrants be removed?
Yes, I think that's what needs to happen in light of the state's announcement. They're not asking for a continuance. They're saying they're not going forward. So I will dismiss the petition from March 3rd, and we'll take care of lifting the warrant from January 27th. I want to be clear to Mr. Shipman. This doesn't mean that the state would come back with its own petition to revoke probation based on either of these arrests. But if they're not prepared to move forward today, then Mr. Shipman shouldn't be held on that basis. There may be other reasons why Mr. Shipman is not getting out of jail right away, to include the Atlanta arrest in February. That's not, I'm offering no comment on whether you should have a bond for that or anything like that. I'm here today only to address the 2 petitions, or 1 warrant, 1 petition. And we'll take care of lifting the warrants and maybe 2 warrants, but whatever flowed from the 2 probation documents that I have that sought to revoke Mr. Shipman's probation in connection with the Bartow gun case and the Atlanta shooting, those will be taken care of today. Mr. Johnson, do you represent Mr. Shipman on the unindicted charges? Will you be sticking around for that?
There's a public defender, I can't remember her name. I think she was representing him on the the charges. He has another hearing today.
So in what capacity do you represent Mr. Shipman, just so I can follow it?
I represent Mr. Shipman for the bond revocation, as well as for the new charges. We filed a motion for a bond hearing for the February charges.
Okay. And that's gonna happen before a magistrate, I assume?
I assume so, yes.
Okay. All right, so
Yeah,
yeah.
it has not been placed on the calendar yet.
Okay,
As far as I know, it has not been placed on the calendar yet.
okay, I'm looking at the new charges, and here's your bond motion. Got it. So you filed on April 19th, motion for bond in the CP case that is this alleged shooting case. All right, that's how that one will travel. Our only connection to it in this division will be Mr. Shipman is on probation in the 18 SC case, and getting arrested is a violation of that probation. So we may be back to talk about what should happen with whatever probation remains on the 18 SC case. But if the shooting case gets indicted, it would only get assigned to me by coincidence. It's not going to be related back to the probation case.
Okay.
Mr. Shipman, do you have any questions about what we've been discussing, or do you think you follow what we were doing?
I'm listening, I'm trying to understand.
So what we were maybe going to do today was have a hearing about whether your probation should be revoked. You have a case from 2018 that you pled to. You were put on probation for that. The probation department has said you violated that probation by getting arrested in Bartow County for having a gun, and then more recently by getting arrested in Atlanta for allegedly being involved in the shooting. But the prosecutor said today, we're not going forward with those revocations. So I'm dismissing the revocation. I'm not dismissing any charges. You still got these two charges. Mr. Johnson's going to argue bonds for you sometime, not in front of me, in front of a different judge on those new charges. But there is a warrant that's holding you in jail from probation, and we're setting that aside today. Okay?
Okay, I understand.
Good. Anything else?
No, sir.
All right, Mr. Johnson, anything else?
Nothing else, Your Honor.
Ms. Hall, anything else on this case?
Nothing further from the state.
All right, that's it for Mr. Shipman. Thank you.
Your Honor, this the only business I have today.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You have a great day.
You too. All right, our final position is State versus Mr. Marshall, who will be coming on the screen in a minute. Hey, Mr. Marshall, how you doing?
How you doing, McBurney?
I'm doing all right. I'm going to ask Mr. Franklin, your lawyer, who hopefully you can see on the screen, to let me know what we're going to talk about today. I picked up on a failure to appear warrant. Mr. Franklin's going to talk to me about what to do with that. So we'll hear from him. Got the prosecutor here. We'll hear from her and figure out what the plan is. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Franklin.
Good morning. I'm sorry. It's like it's off. I don't know. Somebody's moving something outside my office. So I think we actually have something a bit better than addressing the failure to appear warrant. Ms. Hall and I have been having discussions since Mr. Marshall was rearrested, and we've come to an agreement for restitution to be made in exchange for the case being dead docketed. So essentially a virtual pretrial intervention agreement. Ms. Hall prepared an order last night, this morning, and she sent it to Ms. Nelson shortly before court began. So I'm not sure if Ms. Nelson had a chance to see it yet, but pending your signature, we have an agreement in place that should resolve the case. I've spoken to Mr. Marshall's fiance, Ms. Thomas, and she has the money available essentially immediately. I'm gonna meet with her off of Monroe Drive sometime this afternoon or late morning to get the cashier's check that will be made out to the complaining witness in the case, and the dead docket should be able to go to a NOAA process fairly quickly.
I have the proposed order in front of me. This is the fastest virtual PTI ever. It's impressive. It gives Mr. Marshall the deadline Friday, May 7th, to pay the restitution, $1,000. Is that Mr. or Ms. Peterson?
Mr.
Mr. Peterson is entitled to the funds, I guess. And then we've got a deadline of June 1 for the state to reach out and say, hey, everything's been taken care of, or we dismiss the warrant prosecution. So those are deadlines. I guess you've seen this, Mr. Franklin. So do you think those are realistic deadlines if you get that?
Yes. Like I said, I've spoken to his fiance, and she's been very anxious about when we can meet up to actually get the money order cashier's check exchanged. And as soon as I get it, I don't want it in my hands any longer than necessary. So I get it to Ms. Hall ASAP.
All right. So Mr. Marshall, you follow all that?
Yes, sir.
Is really a solid $1,000. And if that restitution gets paid, then it sounds like the state will dismiss this case against you. Is that your understanding of what's happening?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Mr. Franklin, is the plan to leave Mr. Marshall where he safely is right now until Ms. Hall says break the check, or we're dead docketing the case once I sign the order, which I'm happy to do today?
We're dead docketing once you sign.
Okay. And then that'll get Mr. Marshall out.
Yeah.
Mr. Marshall, do you work?
Yes, sir. Security.
Security, like where you wear a uniform, or security where like you wear a suit and
A suit. My bodyguard.
all right, where do you work?
I have superstar clients.
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like you'll be getting back out there. Do you have any questions about what we discussed?
No, sir.
All right. Anything else, Ms. Hall?
Not the fire department.
All right. Well, I've got the order. I'll take care of that this morning. And then Ms. Hall, if things get squared away from the states, and just let us know. And we'll go from there.
Yes, Your
Mr.
Honor.
Franklin, anything else for Mr. Marshall?
I do not believe so. I believe this, once you sign the paperwork and that's put into the system, that should resolve the FTA, and that should get them out. So
Okay.
I'll keep an eye on it just to make sure there's no hangups. But other than that, nothing else.
All right. Sounds good. Mr. Marshall, you got any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. God bless. Thank you.
I think that's it, Jail. That was short and sweet. Thank you for having everyone ready.
All right, thank you.